Okay, this is a video I'm making for my YouTube friend Polaris. Hi Polaris. She submitted me a bunch of questions because I'm going to do a private channel for her. And if you're watching this and you would like to have a private channel, that's something you can do. All you do is just click the link you can see below this video. Anyway, Polaris submitted me a suite of questions, some really great questions in there for me to choose to do the channeling for her. And there's one question there which I think is a great question, which would be good for everybody to hear, because I'm curious to hear what would come through as well. So I'm going to do a channel today, which I'm just uploading to my YouTube for everybody to see. And it's on this question, which has come from Polaris. Okay, so this is kind of paraphrasing her question. Do we have cellular memory which connects us to our ancestors? And how can we draw strength from those that came before us? I think this is pertinent because of where we are right now. So it's mid-August 2021 and the screws are tightening on the clamping down of our liberties and being forced to do things that we don't want to do. So our ancestors from the past, especially in places like the United States, who were able to shrug off tyranny and lay the foundation for a free country. How can we draw strength from those people, especially if they are your direct ancestors? So, alright, let's see what we got. Greetings and thank you for the question. We would like to extend our thanks also to Polaris for the pertinence of this question. And we reflect back to her that she has brought this question forward because there is an alignment going on in much of humanity towards a place of strength arising from a passion for freedom. And this passion for freedom is inherent to the human experience. However, over the last several generations, it has been deliberately numbed, deliberately pushed to the side as much as possible through the instruments of control wielded by those who are antithetical to this sense of freedom. But this is now the time of birthing something new. And this birthing of something new is really a return to the default birthright of being a sentient being, which is at its core having a passion for the freedom to be an individual expression of the love of the one, to be the one experiencing itself in your own unique way. So With thanks, we shall offer information which we feel is resonant with where the human spirit is right now and where it is heading. So let us start by addressing this first part of the question. Do your cells have a cellular memory which connects you to your ancestors? This question can be answered yes or no. The cells themselves are illusory because the reality you find yourself in is also illusory. There is only one, and there has always only ever been one. And the one yearning to know itself conceptually, yearning to know itself beyond conception, experientially, to experience itself, created the illusion of more than one, such that there could be the opportunity for one aspect to be different from another aspect and to perceive there is something which isn't it. Therefore, there was the birth of experience. So, from this very high level perspective, there is no cell. There is no body. There is no you. There is only one. However, bringing it down to a level of definition which is more relevant, we would say that all of your living cells are imbued with the energy of the One. And this energy which pulses through you and invigorates yourselves into being alive is networked through all of reality, through all of the all. And this very dense network of connectivity between all aspects of everything infers that you are connected to all things. So, this includes those ancestors who were invigorated by freedom, who fought their wars, fought their battles, and did what they must to ensure that they and those that came after them were able to live in freedom. It is the same energy, it is all connected, and further, those that came before you, whether they were ancestor or not, are still connected to you. So they do not need to be direct ancestors through bloodline for you to be influenced by them in this energetic way. Because it is the same energy, it is the same source which invigorates you that invigorated them. It is all networked together. And even more so, from the perspective of the moment, which does not include time. Time is a concept very endemic to third density, where time is perceived as a linear progression of moments. But in a high density awareness, where this progression of moments isn't required to make sense of the reality and to be embedded in the reality in a functional way, then time is less and less viewed as being a linear progression of moments, but instead is realized to be a single moment with an infinite number of perspectives. So this idea that there is an infinite moment, so instead of time being laid in this way where it's passing through time, this linear progression, instead time is like this, so all moments stacked on top of each other as one single moment with an infinite number of perspectives. This implies that those who came before you are still existing in this moment, yet from a different perspective. So their time or their life has not started and begun before yours, but is, in a sense, occurring right now. Therefore, to draw from them the invigoration of freedom, the passion to be living a life which is abundant with self-determination, doesn't require that you look back into the past to grab the sniff of an old concept that was once held dear by those that came before you. Because it is very much alive and vibrant right now, because in this idea that all moments are occurring simultaneously, they are living those moments right now, in this very moment that you share with them. This is not just a playful concept, but is actually more reflective of what is occurring than the third density perspective of this linear progression of time, such that they had those experiences way in the past. That this third density perspective is less truly descriptive of what is occurring than the idea of all moments stacked into the single now, occurring now. So, if you wish to be invigorated by the strength and power of freedom, so that you can be more forthright in expressing your freedom in this very moment, and feeling that you have the righteous will and power to fight for your self-determination without fear and with a belief that you can be successful, then all you need to do for this connectivity and the feed or extraction or enhancement of your own energy from those who are existing now, but in the third density perspective came before you, then think of them in a admirable and impassioned way. And you can become harmonic with their vibration by allowing the quality of their vibration to synchronize with your vibration, and so that you begin to take on a harmonic reflection of the way that they were passionate about maintaining the freedoms which they understood were the birthright of all humans. At that time, they had been subject to much less indoctrination, because there were less influence of the cultural pillars, and education had been less weaponized against the community by those who wielded the power. And so it was easier then to be resonant with this very fundamental quality of being a sentient being within the all, and more locally being a human within the earth-human paradigm. Therefore, it is a good practice to draw from them this strength, because over many generations, the modern human has been deliberately suppressed and numbed of this quality, and even made to feel guilty about their desires to be free, to call out for this birthright to be respected. And even further still, again, what we're about to say now is a further illustration of how networked everything is, how interconnected everything is across all time, across all regions of the all, of the universe. It is a very networked lattice of connectivity, which is the one in the context of the all, of what it has created so that it can experience itself. And so this dense interconnectedness we spoke about before, we do not mean this dense as in heavy. What we mean is that if we were to describe it visually, when we say that it is a network, and if you were to visualize that network, where perhaps you can see that there are tendrils that are connecting to each other, forming what seems to be a net of connection, for example. We use the term dense to say that the connectiveness is so complete and everything is connected to everything else so comprehensively that, using a visual metaphor, it is almost like it is completely opaque. You cannot see the gaps between the connections because it is all connection. This is how we use the term dense when speaking about this. So, that was to lead up to this new layer of connectedness that exists in this example that we are providing with you. Not only are you connected in these ways we have spoken about, but you are also connected through parallel realities. So, you are interconnected with everything within your universe, across all time, and fundamental to being a sentient being within the all is to have a sense that freedom is a birthright, which is truth. It is one of the most fundamental birthrights, the most fundamental being to exist. And so it is possible to draw on this strength from the all to invigorate yourself with the vibration of freedom. But in parallel realities also, there are an infinite number of alternate universes which also are interconnected in the same way, and which also can be drawn upon for your invigorated sense of freedom. And more specifically, there are versions of you within these universes, within these alternate realities, which are already very invigorated, very pulsating, very vibrating with this sense of freedom. And you can connect to them just as you can connect with those who came before you but are existing in this stacked concept of one moment with an infinite number of perspectives. So, if one wanted to, they could become very, very, very charged with the excitatory vibration of freedom by accessing all of these ways that freedom is being expressed within the all, including all of the alternate realities, the alternate universes within the all, and becoming very activated in your networking into this entirety of the system. So rather than sending out one connection here, you could just be completely connected in all ways to an infinite degree. This is possible because the interconnectivity of the all is infinitely comprehensive. And when drawing from these alternate realities, a simple and powerful way to do that is to connect to that reality through the alternate version of yourself. And then, while connected to the alternate version of yourself, interconnect further with all within that alternate reality through the conduit of the alternate version of self. So let's now speak about this in a practical sense. If you were to go through this process where you increasingly allow yourself to network into the all, so that you can draw upon this very fundamental birthright of personal freedom, sovereignty, liberty, self-determination. It is still only an esoteric concept if you don't then utilize it in some way within your own reality. So here are a few suggestions in the ways that you can utilize this so that it creates change within your own reality, and so that the energy you draw from the all, including your ancestors, is honored in a way which perhaps you would like to consider is honorable for them, in your respect for what they have done, what they accomplished, and the life that you live now because of the sacrifices that they made. So, the first we would say is to be a beacon of the energy of freedom Everything is energetic first, physicalized second. So you are an energetic being having a temporary physical experience so that you can know thyself through experience, and therefore the one can know itself through the proxy of you experientially. So to create change in the physicalized experience you're having, then you must first change energetically. Energy is the basis, and the reality you experience is a metaphoric reflection of what you are being energetically. It is literally just feedback data so that you can calibrate in your journey of discovery of who you are. So, if you wish to bring about a reality which is a metaphoric reflection of freedom, then hold freedom as your energy. So, in all moments when you can be cognizant of it, and also this can be done through meditation, where in your meditation technique you experience the infinite connectiveness with the all and draw from it a fortified sense of the birthright of freedom. And then in your waking moments when you are doing your daily living, allow this to be a very rich quality within your vibration, this sense of freedom. And the sense of freedom is very aligned with the light end of the spectrum. It is from the scope of the reception of abundance. So to be receiving abundantly of the qualities of the light, such that there is nothing which is clouding your sense of identity towards a misconception of self as the darkness. So, your mood or your demeanor or your sense of self would be very oriented to love and its derivatives. And the negative end of the spectrum would not be entertained. So if you are going to be in the fight, for example, where you wish to be a participant in the collection and awakening of humanity to push back against the darkness, to not allow the darkness to achieve the goals that it wishes to achieve, which would be a completely snuffing out of the freedom, then the balancing act or the skill that is required is to be able to stand as a sentinel of freedom against the oppressiveness of the darkness without allowing yourself to identify with the darkness in any way. So, we mean this way. When looking at what is occurring in the human field right now, it would be easy to feel a sense of despair, a sense of fear, a sense of worry, a sense of anxiety, because those that are at the dashboard of control, have their hands on the levers of society, have an agenda which is not in the best interests for you, although they will say that it is. And so from this perspective, it could appear that you are much less powerful than those who wish to oppress you. And this can allow you to misidentify the self and begin to feel the emotions of worry and anxiety and depression and hopelessness. But those qualities are antithetical to freedom. Freedom is the agenda. Freedom is the force that you wish to emanate across all of your reality such that it becomes the predominant quality. One of the predominant qualities. Love being the most predominant quality. And freedom is a manifestation of love and its derivatives. So, the skill required is to be in the presence, fully cognizant of what they are doing, yet without the incorporation of any darkness into your identity, so that you remain entirely the purity of love and its derivatives, even in the face of knowing what they are doing. And this will allow you to be a beacon of freedom in a very pure and vibrant way. And the energetic influence you'll have on the all, on the human fabric, and within your communities, within your social groups, within your own family, and within your own life, will shift the reality and make the reality start to take on a metaphoric feedback appearance of greater freedom. This is how it works. And when there is enough people within the Earth human paradigm that can hold this purity of freedom, despite what is occurring within the realm of those who wield the darkness to create the oppression, the new paradigm which will be a snuffing of the freedoms, regardless, irrespective of what they're doing. When enough people can hold this power of the light and vibrate with a sense of freedom, because this is where the real power lay. The power of the light is many times greater than the power of the darkness, because the power of the light is real. It is the true essence of the one, whereas the power of the darkness, or the darkness, is only a shadow of the light. It exists solely to create the contrast so there can be an experience of the light. So the darkness is nothing but the polarity within the illusion so there can be an experience of what is real. And so, because it is just an illusion, the darkness does not have an inherent power, although it has a power through the way it can be wielded within the illusion. But within the greater context of the true meaning of the one, power of darkness is nil, it is zilch. The darkness cannot damage the light of the one. It cannot. So when there are enough people who are resonating with this sense of freedom, despite there being the presence of the darkness, then the reality, which is just an illusion to reflect back to you in a physical metaphor who you are being, will start to reflect back to all within this field of freedom, a metaphor of freedom. Next, another practical application of this freedom which you have drawn from your ancestors, and it does vibrate through the very cells of your body because it is drawn from the comprehensive network of the all. In the moments of your life, when you find yourself in a place where you are being asked to do something which you know is not a requirement which is arising from the light. And this requires self-honesty, and this is not to be something to be used selfishly by refusing something and justifying it by saying it is not of the light. Be honest in your use of this concept. If you're being asked to do something which is not arising from freedom or from the reasons which are being given for it being thrust on you. For example, if you are being asked to wear a mask, then this is an opportunity for you to practically apply the energy of freedom. If you can say to self honestly that the motivation for these forces to ask you to wear the mask is antithetical to freedom, is actually for the purpose of taking away your freedom, even though it is being done under the guise of perhaps your protection. If you can honestly recognize that within this paradigm, then express your freedom. Ask yourself, what would have your ancestors done? Your ancestors that hadn't been indoctrinated over generations into feeling that their own sense of freedom was a selfishness. Your ancestors who were prepared to leave the farm and pick up arms to protect themselves, their family, their community, their entire countries against tyranny at the drop of a hat, because they believe so strongly that freedom is a birthright which must be protected, and it is of no right of any man or woman to take it away from them. What would they do in that situation if they were asked to do something which is mandated for no other reason than to take away your freedoms? How would they respond? What would they do? And this is a very powerful way that you can connect to your ancestors right now. Because recalling, they still exist, they are still living the moments of their lives right now. These things which they have done, which gives you a sense of pride in their achievements, are occurring right now from a different perspective of the moment. So, it is still fresh, it is still rich, it is still vibrantly alive, this energy of freedom. And you can draw from them in the very moment. And so the energy of freedom that they are using right now from their perspective of the moment to resist tyranny in their lives, you can draw on that energy right now, the very rich, alive, fresh energy of freedom, of resistance to tyranny in these very moments, by accessing them through this infinite web of interconnectivity, which is pulsating with all birthrights, including the birthright of freedom, of self-determination, of individual sovereignty and liberty. To be afraid of the consequences of acting with a vibration of freedom is allowing their indoctrination to do its work, to numb this sense of freedom, which is your birthright. All societies have been, within the human paradigm, have been indoctrinated over a long time to feel that freedom, a call for freedom, is a selfish act. And also that if you commit this selfish act, then you are deserving of punishment. And so if you call out for your freedom, and then they punish you for calling out for your freedom, then you are deserving of that punishment, because it is a crime to ask for your freedoms. Clearly, this is a perversion of the truth. And so, if you find that you would like to vibrate with the freedom of your ancestors, which is your birthright, but you are fearful of what the consequences would be, then understand that this is part of the way that you have been manipulated, and it is not truth, but instead it is the incorporation of their lies into your self-information. So, have the courage, particularly with these smaller things, where the repercussions are virtually zero. Have the courage to be faithful to the vibration of freedom. Have the courage to honor your ancestors. Feel within your own cells the empowering vibration of this very energy which they used to cast off tyranny, to create lives and futures for their progeny, including you. Be prepared to make some sacrifices for the greater outcome of a return to freedom. If the consequences are that you are fined, or you are reprimanded, or you are rejected entry into a store, then so be it. Because what is at hand now is of much greater significance. It is of much greater impact, because the shrugging off of tyranny, the snuffing out of darkness, is precursory to the chain of awakening leading to your ascension into fourth density. And this is the reason why you came here, to be part of this ascension into fourth density. And so, to weigh up the choices, the choice is to deny your own sense of freedom, to avoid the reprimand, to avoid the embarrassment of being called out in a social scene, to snuff out your freedom such that you don't receive the inconvenience of a fine, versus fulfilling your third density intention of ascending to a fourth density state, fully realized of yourself as the one, and beginning of the new earth human paradigm. Clearly, you can see this is insignificant. This is nothing. And this is really what it's all about. So, be invigorated. Be willing to challenge not only the system, but also to challenge yourself, to challenge this concept that you are a finite, vulnerable being. Because, of course, you are not the finite, vulnerable, mortal being. You are the infinite, immortal, invulnerable, energetic being that will continue to exist when this life has concluded, will never cease to be. You are for all time, and you will never become less. You will never be damaged. And so, from this full scope of your existence, any damage you may occur in the physical vehicle or in the freedoms of the physical vehicle are insignificant to this greater journey. So allow this self-conceptualization to invigorate you, to fulfill the reason that you came here, and ignite this avatar, this temporary vehicle, mind, body, personality, which you are animating at this moment, with the vibration of the freedom of not only your ancestors, but of all creation, across all realities, because all of them pulsate with the same fundamental birthrights, which includes very centrally the birthright of freedom. We know that you shall make it. We know that there is no way that you do not make it back to the one, because there is only one bullseye in all of existence, and that one bullseye is the return to the one. And so you shall make it, whether it be this journey or the next. However, right now is an opportunity. If you do not make it, you will still make it eventually. However, we know that you are here because it is this opportunity right now that you have chosen to be a part of. And to be part of that is going to require courage, is going to require that you take a stand against the darkness. And this is done by becoming a beacon of all of the qualities of the light, including freedom, and that you unite with those around you so that you become the single flame of the light, vibrating with all qualities, including the quality of freedom, until eventually the energy of freedom becomes so much the main energetic quality of existence that the reality, the metaphoric feedback data, becomes reflective of this proportionality, until there is so much energetic proportion of freedom that the reality has no choice but to reflect back this metaphor, this feedback data of exactly that. And when this happens, you will find that you are in a paradigm of freedom. And the darkness will have become no more. And it is on the basis of the individual that this will occur. All individuals together deciding to be part of the unity. So each of you is very important in this equation. So begin now contributing in the ways we have described. And the inevitable shall eventually come to pass. We love you, and we are very excited, and we see the cliff edge approaching, and we are encouraged by the way that the human field is responding, and the glow of the light is increasing, and the darkness is crumbling beneath its brilliance. Keep going. You're almost there. We love you. Thank you.